Images are supposed to be maps, but they turn into screens. Willem Flusser. In this episode, Tessa and I will have a closer look at this Asahi Pentax Super-Takumar 35mm f2 and put it through its paces. It will also receive the CLV score at the end, so keep watching for that. But let's begin with its features and handling. The lens was introduced in 1967, although a different first model was introduced 2 years prior. It has 8 elements and 7 groups. And since thorium glass is used here, this is one of those lenses that is radioactive, though harmless. However, this causes the glass to develop a yellowish-brown tint over time, but leaving it in direct sunlight for a few days usually helps. That's also what I did with this lens. Another interesting fact, unlike later SMC lenses, this one has only a single layer coating. It appears that only the last Super-Takumar lenses produced already had the multi-layer coating. The aperture closes down to f16 and clicks at every half stop between f2.8 and f11. It has 6 blades, the minimum focus distance is 40 cm and the filter diameter is 49 mm. Its weight is 240 grams. The focus ring rotates 125 degrees and feels very smooth and well dampened. We will be testing the lens on a Sony A7III and this Fuji GFX50S. On the Fuji, it's equivalent to a full-frame lens with a focal length of about 28 mm and a maximum aperture of f1.6. Let's start by looking at distortion and vignetting on this Adobe camera calibration chart. There's a bit of barrel distortion and also vignetting, but both are not very strong. At f4 the vignetting is almost gone. If you'd like a correction profile for distortion and vignetting, you can find it on my Patreon page. Lateral chromatic aberration is clearly visible, but it can easily be corrected in software, of course. This is more difficult or even impossible when it comes to longitudinal chromatic aberration. Thankfully, it's not very strong, however it's persistent, since there are still traces of it at f8. When it comes to color fringing in the middle of the frame, we see only a slight purple haze wide open, which is gone from f2.8 onward. When adapting the lens to a GFX sensor, we do see black corners, but it is still suitable for the other aspect ratios shown. Now it's time for the sharpness tests on the A7, starting with focusing at infinity. Sharpness in the center of the frame is already very good wide open, only contrast is a bit low. But from f2.8 to f11 we have a contrasty and very sharp image. Only f16 is slightly softer due to diffraction. Halfway to the corner the image starts a little soft and, unfortunately, never gets very good here. Good sharpness is reached at f5.6, but to put it positively, the other f-stops aren't far behind. The corners are even worse. The best result is only achieved at f11, but it's not even good. Here we are testing sharpness at the minimum focus distance. Wide open, the image is a little soft and with low contrast. It improves at f2.8 and very good sharpness is achieved at f4. The corners, however, aren't looking good again. Acceptable sharpness is only reached at f16. The sharpness test at portrait distance confirms what we just saw. At f2, there's a slight softness, but from f2.8 and f4 onward, the image is very sharp. Now let's have a look at the lens's bokeh. It's a bit uneven, but it does get slightly smoother when you stop down. What's striking, however, is the significant field curvature, especially here on the GFX sensor. The final test is the one for coma and sunstars. Wide open, we can clearly see both coma and the typical wings of astigmatism, but they are under control once we reach f4. At f5.6, sunstars begin to form, which, with their 6 rays, look fairly average, I would say. To give you an idea of how the lens performs in practice, here are a few examples I shot with the GFX. Please enjoy. Welcome back. Now it's time for the CLV score. For handling and features, it's a 6. For aberrations, also a 6. Its sharpness is only a 3. The bokeh is a nice 5. And for the sunstars, we give it a 6. Its used price is around 150 to 200 euros, therefore it gets a 5. With 31 out of 60 points, it has made it into the top 10 for now. By the way, there's a link to the full table in the description. Thanks for watching everyone, and please consider liking and subscribing.